In the news this week, exclusive, Melville Mayor says Labor MP Lisa O'Malley should stand aside from the parliamentary inquiry.
Also, Minister David Templeman expressed his surprise over the Mayor's comment, plus calls to increase support for ex-war veterans suffering PTSD.
And on Western Perspective, asylum seekers struggle for refuge in Australia.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Lund and Danielle Staniskov.
Good evening. After the state government announced a parliamentary inquiry into the city of Melville, Mayor Russell Aubrey has expressed concerns that Labor MP Lisa O'Malley's involvement may be biased because she was a former city councillor. His comments have caught many by surprise. Nelson Liu has the exclusive interview.
What's the concern around Lisa O'Malley's involvement in this investigation?
There is potential for bias from her when she is actually under the scope of the investigation. She should be actually a part of the investigation and be investigated herself. She was a councillor during that period, so all we wish to know and get a confirmation from the Minister that appropriate investigations will be conducted into the relationship between Lisa O'Malley as a councillor and Lisa O'Malley as a parliamentarian with these groups that raise so many complaints.
Do you see her involvement in this investigation as threatening the City of Melville's good standing within the community?
If Lisa is going to be involved in this investigation, then the integrity of the investigation itself will be undermined. We want this to be a high integrity investigation that looks at all the details as outlined by the scope of the inquiry, and we don't want anyone to be involved in this that has a personal interest. 300 complaints, it's a lot of complaints to come from such a small group. Most of them are absolutely trivial and insignificant. Everyone that's been forwarded to me for investigation has proven to be, in fact, not warranting complaint whatsoever.
You previously said that the City of Melville is an open book. You're going to cooperate completely with this investigation. What would you like to see happen in the end?
I think at the end of the day there will be no significant findings against the city. There will possibly, I'm sure they'll dig deep to find some minor suggestions, but hopefully it will result in some changes to the Local Government Act.
Local Government Minister David Templeman has rejected Mayor Aubrey's suggestion that former councillor Lisa O'Malley should stand aside from the inquiry. He defended Mrs O'Malley by saying she's an outstanding Member of Parliament. Kelly Smith joins us with more exclusive details on this issue. Kelly.
That's right, Danielle. Following Melville Mayor Aubrey's exclusive interview on the matter of former councillor Lisa O'Malley's participation in the inquiry, Local Government Minister David Templeman expressed his surprise at Mr Aubrey's comment. He believed it's not a good idea to focus on individuals, as the inquiry only looks into the council's culture and communications.
Absolutely not. Lisa O'Malley is an outstanding member of a Bicton, because Lisa O'Malley is now a Member of Parliament. If we are focused on individuals, those inquiries are for other jurisdictions. But I've got to tell you this: if you go down that track, then how far back do you go? Do you go back 10, 15 years? I just think we've got to be very cautious of that.
Political expert Ian Cook says there's been a loss of trust from the Australian public. He believes more inquiries will help with political transparency.
I think overkill is the only answer, that we should have inquiries, regularly and at every time, even if they may not produce anything. And yes, it will be costly, but without that, we're not going to be able to rebuild the trust in Australian political institutions that we used to have, and I think we need to have.
The inquiry into Melville City Council will begin shortly. Ivan, back to you.
Kelly Smith, thank you. Deputy Prime Minister and Nationals leader Barnaby Joyce has won the New England by-election with more than 60% of primary votes going his way. The by-election was triggered after Mr Joyce was caught up in the citizenship row. Despite 16 candidates were running against him in the race, he has managed to increase his popularity from 52.3% in the previous election to a crushing 62%. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull also joined Mr Joyce as his electorate to celebrate his comeback.
A military veteran advocacy group is calling for more care for troops suffering from post-traumatic stress, following double the number of suicides from the condition and deaths in Afghanistan. Partners of Veterans Association Secretary Karen McDonnell says more current and ex-service troops are losing their lives to suicide, resulting in suicide rates reaching nearly 80 in 2017. She says while current and ex-soldiers can't be forced, it's important to encourage those suffering from PTSD to seek help if they have a problem.
With the Vietnam vets, it took them 35, 40 years to admit that they had a problem and start looking for it. So what they're doing now within both the military and DVA is trying to get the message out to the younger ones that there is help available.
A $250,000 reward has been announced by the state government for information regarding the disappearance and suspected homicide of Lisa Jane Brown in 1998. Lisa was last seen in Northbridge in the early hours of the morning on the 10th of November 1998. She parted with her boyfriend before walking down Brisbane Street. Police Commissioner Chris Dawson confirmed there are fresh information on the cold case. He urged members of the public who know something to come forward and give some closure to the Brown family.
We believe there are people that know what has gone on there. We would like them to come forward to police and tell us what they do know.
Former US President Donald Trump's advisor Michael Flynn pleaded guilty for lying to the FBI over his relations with Russia. Mr. Flynn became the fourth person charged by independent prosecutor Robert Mueller. Mr. Flynn appeared in the federal court hours after the public gained knowledge about his charge. The judge has accepted his plea and said there will be no trial and maybe no appeal. Argentina has formally ended their search for survivors from the missing submarine 2 weeks after the vessel has vanished. The Navy says they have changed their focus from rescue to recovery after search crews failed to locate the missing submarine. The United States and other countries provided assistance during the mission. However, a spokesman cannot confirm whether the crew had perished.
And finally, this week, the mood of festive season hits WA, with Perth CBD hosting the annual RAC Christmas Pageant on St George's Terrace. The Night of Magic was filled with performances, floats and music. The streets are packed with adults and kids who are looking forward to celebrate Christmas.
And that's our weekly news and current affairs. You can catch the latest news on our website and Facebook page.
Until 5:30 next Sunday, have a good evening.